And then if you didn't do the notes, that's what you're doing now. Make sure, those of you who are taking the notes now, you should have headphones in and you should be listening to the sound. So nobody should be watching those notes without sound. Okay? All right. You can make the picture bigger. Is it on the full screen? So you might copy the link and paste it in a new page so that it's playing from YouTube instead of playing from Google Classroom. Okay. The problem that we're going to do is y equals x squared minus 8x plus 12. All right, and if you look at your notes, what's the very first step? What's the very first step if you look at your notes? Yeah, we take the number on the end and we move it over to be with the y. That's always the very first step. So I'm going to minus the 12 over. So I have y minus 12 equals x squared minus 8x, and then this is where I have the blank, and I'm figuring out what number to put in the blank. Okay, next, I've got the negative 8, and then what do I always do with this middle term? Divide it by 2. So we always take it, we always divide it by 2. We never divide it by something else, we always divide it by 2. And then what do? We always square the result. So we're going to take negative 4 and we're going to square it. And negative 4 squared is, you're close. It's just 16, yeah. So if we have a positive number squared, we get a positive. If we have a negative number squared, we still get a positive. So no matter what, this is going to be a positive number. So negative 4 squared is 16. So 16 is the number that we put on the right. If I put a positive 16 on the right, what do I have to do to the left to balance out the equation? Add a 16 there as well. So whatever I do on the right, I have to do the exact same thing on the left. Okay? So at this point, I have a y with a number, and then I have a little set of parentheses squared. So if I look at the numbers, I have a negative 12 and a positive 16. And what does that give me? A positive 4. And then what always goes in the little parentheses? Little parentheses squared. If you look at your notes, what always goes in the little parentheses? We always start with an x, and then we have a very specific number. No? Thank you. It's a very specific number. Can anyone see what it is? It's an x and then something else. Say it again. Negative 4. So whatever you got when you divided by 2, that number is the number that goes in the parentheses. So negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. That negative 4 is what goes in the parentheses. So x minus 4. Okay, so now we want the y to be alone. How do we get the y alone? We minus the 4 over. And the 4 can't subtract from the stuff in the parentheses because those parentheses are protecting everything. And so when we move this 4 over to the other side, we just have to subtract it on the end. So we have y equals parentheses x minus 4 squared with the minus 4 stuck on the end. Can somebody answer that? Say, Miss Rice's room, student speaking. Perfect. All right, so for the next one, we're going to do y equals x squared minus 6x plus 7. So what should we do first? Subtract the 7. Okay. So we have y minus 7 equals x squared minus 6x plus blank. And then what do we do? Divide. Okay, so negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. And then what do we say about the negative 3? Yeah, we take the negative 3 and we square it, just like we did up here. So negative 3 squared is 9, okay? So 9 is the number that goes in the blank. And if we added a number on the right side of the equation, what do we have to do on the left side of the equation? We have to add 9 to the left side as well. So we have to make sure we're doing the same thing to each side. So now we have a y, we have a number right next to the y, and we have a little set of parentheses. And that little set of parentheses is being squared. So what number is next to the y? A positive 2. Negative 7 and positive 9 makes a positive 2. Okay? And then what goes in the little parentheses squared? X minus 3. So we had, when we divided by 2, we got negative 3. And so that's what goes in the parentheses. So we have x minus 3. Okay? And then how do we get the y alone? Subtract the 2. So we have y equals x minus 3 squared minus 2. Okay. How do you guys feel about those? Do we see how they're kind of repetitive? It's just the same thing over and over? Okay, so let me go ahead and hand out the worksheet for today. We can do some more on the worksheet just to practice them together. Let's go ahead and look at number 6. It doesn't have a number on the end, so what number could I put there? 0, okay. I'll go ahead and put a 0 on the end just so it feels similar, so it can feel like the other ones. So what would we do first based on the other examples that we just did? What do we normally do? We subtract the end number. I'm going to go ahead and just subtract 0 so that it feels like the other problems. You don't have to subtract the 0 if you don't want to, but I just want it to look the same. I want it to feel like the other problems did. Okay, so what do we do next? Okay, take the 8, divide it by 2. What do we get? 4. And then what do we do with the 4? Square it. 4 squared is 16. And then what do we do with the 16? Put it up in the blank. And if you add 16 to the right side of the equation, what do you have to do to the left side? You have to add 16 over there as well. So we're going to have a y, we're going to have a little space, we're going to have a small parentheses squared. And so what goes here next to the y? 16. So a negative 0 and a positive 16 gives you positive 16. And then what goes in the parentheses? X plus 4, so we always start with the x, and then the number that we got when we divided by 2 was a positive 4, and so that's how we knew to put plus 4. Okay. So at this point, what do we do to finish the problem? Our goal is... Okay, so our goal is to have the y alone, so we're going to minus the 16 over to the right side. And so we have y equals x plus 4 squared minus 16. So at this point, if somebody said, what is the vertex for this equation, could you tell them? Yeah, what's the vertex? Negative 4, negative 16. If they said, what are the transformations? What would you say? What are the transformations? How far does the graph go left or right? How far does the graph go up or down? It goes to the left 4 because it's the opposite of what you would think. So it goes left 4, down 16. Yeah, good. Okay, what other problem do we want to do? Anyone see where they start getting weird on the back? Can anyone tell what makes them weird? They what? They don't have a... Oh, they don't have a blank space, but we put the blank space in, so we can make that happen. Do you want to figure it out? There is something weird about them. If you compare the first page and then look at one point on the second page, something changes. And it's going to change how the problem goes. It's going to make them a little bit more difficult. Anyone see it? It has to do with the middle term. Jalen, your new seat is over at this table. When you switch from problem 9 and 10, 1 through 10, they're all the same, and then 11, 12, 13, 14 are slightly different. The middle terms are odd. And what happens when you take the middle term and divide it by 2 if the middle term is odd? You get a decimal. So should we do one of the problems that are going to give us a decimal? So we could do that. Okay, so let's do number 14. All right, so what should we do first on number 14? Minus 35. Okay. So we have y minus 35 equals x squared minus 11x plus blank. Okay. And then what do we do? Negative 11 divided by 2 is, it's a decimal. What's the decimal? Negative 5.5. Okay. And then we're going to take the negative 5.5, and what are we going to do with it? Square it. And when we square it, we do not get 25.25. That's not what we get. It's probably somewhere close to 30. Anyone know what it is? 30.25. Okay, so negative 5.5 squared is 30.25. So where do we put the 30.25? We put it in the blank, and then where else do we put it? If we add it to the right side, where else do we have to add it? On the left side. Okay. So I've got the y. Oops. I've got the y, and I've got a space. And then I've got my little parentheses squared. And in this space, what should I put? You're close. So over here we're going to do x, and then it was a negative 5.5 when we divided by 2, so that's the number that goes there. Did anyone figure out what goes here? Negative 4.75. Good. Okay. And then if we want to get the y alone, what should we do? Add the 4.75 over. So y equals x minus 5.5 squared plus 4.75. Okay. Do you guys want to do any other problems? No, you're good. Are there any other ones that look weird? Nope. You ready to just work on the sheet that you have? Yeah? Okay. All right, go ahead and get to working, and